Women don't lose wealth because they're bad with money. They lose it because they were trained to give it away before they ever had it. It's not spending, it's not debt. It's something you're probably doing right now and calling it a virtue. My name is Margaret. I'm 73 years old. I own properties in 3 states. I have businesses that generate more money than I ever imagined when I was a younger woman standing in a kitchen I didn't own, in a life I had somehow agreed to without reading the terms. I dress in green, always green, every single day. It started as a private joke after my divorce. Green for money, green for go, green because I finally decided that I was the one giving myself permission. Now it's not a joke, it's armor. When people see me coming, they already know something before I open my mouth. But here's what they don't know. For the first 40 years of my life, I understood nothing about money. Not in a surface way. In a deep, structural, almost deliberate way. I didn't understand it because I had been perfectly trained not to need to. And that is exactly where the habit begins. The habit isn't overspending. It isn't bad investments. It isn't any of the things women get told to fix in articles written by men who have never once had to choose between being liked and being taken seriously. The habit is this: saying yes before you think about yourself, automatically, instinctively, as though your own needs were always the last item on a list that never quite gets finished. I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound like a financial problem. That's exactly why it's so expensive. The things that don't look like financial problems are always the ones that cost the most. Every yes you give before you've thought about yourself is time you didn't spend building anything of your own. And time, at our age, is the one thing that doesn't negotiate. Here's what I want you to watch for. Because this next part is where most women see themselves and look away. A colleague asks you to take on something extra because you're reliable. You say yes without pausing. Your partner makes a financial decision without consulting you, and you let it go, because the conversation would be uncomfortable. A family member needs help, and you provide it before anyone asks. Because anticipating need is something you were taught to do so young, you forgot it was taught. At work, you prove yourself quietly, thoroughly, completely. In ways that get noticed by everyone except the person writing the checks, you become the person everyone counts on, and somehow that counts for nothing in your bank account. I did all of this. I did it with pride, if I'm honest with you. I thought competence was its own reward. I thought being indispensable was the same thing as being powerful. I was wrong about both, profoundly wrong. But the reason I was wrong took me an entire afternoon to understand. One specific afternoon, 42 years ago, that I have never stopped thinking about. And I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. But first, you need to know who I was before it. I was married for 11 years. My husband was not a bad man. I want to be precise about that because this story is not about him. It was never about him. He handled the money. I had agreed to that so early, so casually, that I couldn't tell you when the agreement was made. There was no conversation, no decision. It simply was. Like weather, like gravity, like something that required no explanation because everyone around us had the same arrangement. I worked, I earned money, I deposited it and trusted that the system was running correctly because asking too many questions felt like an accusation. And I was not the kind of woman who made accusations. Does any of this feel familiar? When the marriage ended, I sat down with a stack of financial documents, accounts in my name, assets I had contributed to, things that were technically mine. I did not understand a single page. Not because I wasn't intelligent. I had run departments. I had managed teams. I could take apart a complex argument with precision. But these documents, I had never needed to understand them, so I hadn't, and no one had ever pushed me to. That afternoon, sitting alone at a table in a house that was about to stop being mine, I understood something I have never fully recovered from. The qualities I was most proud of. My reliability, my care, my ability to hold everything together for everyone around me. None of those appeared anywhere in those documents. Not one word. They had no financial value. They were real. They mattered. but they did not belong to me in any way the world could measure or protect. That was the moment. That was the whole thing. Personal qualities are not assets. That was the first real thing I learned. And it was brutal to learn it at 40 years old with 2 children and a stack of papers I should have understood years before. I had spent 11 years being valuable in ways that left me, at the end, with less than I should have had. Not because I was cheated, because I had not built anything in my own name that couldn't disappear when the relationship did. So I did something that terrified me. I started saying no, not loudly, not as a statement. I just began pausing before I agreed to things. A pause that had never existed before. I started tracking where my time was going the way you'd track spending. Not to judge it, just to see it, without blinking. What I saw made me uncomfortable for weeks. Almost everything I was doing was in service of someone else's agenda. Almost nothing I was doing was moving me towards something I had chosen. And the strangest, most disturbing part was that it had felt like virtue. It had felt like the right way to be a woman. There's something else I need to tell you. Something harder than all of that. Something I kept hidden for a very long time. I had been performing competence for decades to avoid a specific kind of embarrassment. Not the embarrassment of failure. The embarrassment of not knowing things I was supposed to already know. Finances, specifically. I would sit in meetings and nod at numbers I hadn't fully processed, because asking for clarification felt more dangerous than silence. I would agree with financial summaries because challenging them meant admitting I had not been paying attention for years. The performance was seamless. Nobody knew, and that was the problem. Because when no one knows you don't understand something, no one teaches you. You just keep performing, year after year, until the performance is all you have left. I was wearing green the day I finally stopped performing. A green blouse I'd bought the week before without asking anyone's opinion, which was new for me. I sat in front of a banker who was explaining a concept I didn't follow. And instead of nodding, I said, "Say that again, slower." He did. Nobody made a face. The world did not end. I had wasted years being afraid of that moment. The first property I bought, I was afraid. I'm not saying that to be charming or relatable. I'm saying it because women are told that confidence must come before action. And that is one of the most expensive lies in circulation. I didn't know enough. I was not certain. I could not fully see the outcome. I bought it anyway. The numbers were not as clean as they should have been. I overpaid in ways I would not repeat. But I learned more from that single transaction than from everything I had read or been told by anyone. And then I did something even harder. Something that cost me more than money. I stopped being the cushion. I had spent my life absorbing other people's financial emergencies, lending money that came back slowly or didn't come back at all, covering gaps quietly without letting anyone feel the weight of it, because letting them feel the weight would have made me feel selfish. When I stopped, the guilt was real. I'm not going to soften that. It sat in my chest like something broken. People I loved looked at me with new eyes. There was a period in my own family where I was described as someone who had changed. They said it like a warning, like I had caught something contagious, changed. As if who I had been before was the correct version and this one was a mistake. I let them say it. I kept going. And then something happened that I had no framework for at all. Money started working without me. Not dramatically, not overnight. But the hours I stopped giving away were hours I put into decisions, and those decisions compounded in ways that my care and availability and reliability never had. Not once, not even close. That's when I understood what wealth actually is. It is not a windfall. It is not a gift. It is not a personality type. It is the result of small, boring, repeated decisions made by someone who has decided, quietly, privately, firmly, that their own future is worth protecting. That's the whole secret. There is no other one. But I want to say something I don't hear said clearly enough, something that will make some people watching this uncomfortable. Women are never given permission to want wealth without guilt. Men can want it openly, loudly, aggressively, and it reads as ambition, as vision, as strength. When a woman wants it with the same directness, there is always a question waiting. Is she neglecting something? Is she becoming difficult? Is she still warm? Is she still the woman everyone can rely on? The question is never asked out loud. It doesn't need to be. Women ask it of themselves. We are kept so busy being countable on that we never quite get around to counting for ourselves. And I have believed this for 40 years, and nothing has changed my mind, that this is not an accident. I am 73 years old. I wear green every day because I decided 42 years ago that I was going to be someone money respected. Not someone who was polite about money. Not someone careful in a way that kept her grateful and small. Someone money moved toward. I built that. In decisions that bored other people. In conversations that made me unpopular. In years when I was described as cold by people who simply meant that I had stopped being infinitely available. Cold? Fine. My green suits don't come off a rack, and I bought every one of them myself. Nobody is going to stop you from building wealth. Say that slowly to yourself. No one is going to stop you. There is no single villain. There is no conspiracy. What there is, and what there has always been, is a current. A steady, invisible current that will keep you busy, keep you needed, keep you generous, keep you saying yes before you think about yourself, until the years are gone and the window has closed, and you will be sitting across from documents that technically have your name on them, that technically reflect your life, but don't contain a single decision you made for yourself. That's the habit. That's what it costs. Not money. Decades. And the reason it works so perfectly, the reason it has worked on so many brilliant women for so long, is that every single day, it feels like the right thing to do. That's how you keep someone from building wealth. You don't stop them. You just keep them busy enough that they never start.